fellow politicos. It is I, the conservative pelican here, with my very first set of predictions for the 2020 election. And decided to start doing this 19 days out from election day, because I have some stuff going on towards the end of this month, and so things might start getting really heavy. A lot of other commitments for my time towards the end of the month, so I want to make sure that I get these prediction videos out, like at least the week before the election. So, and what I have here is, this is 270towin.com. This is what I have created here. You can go to 271.com, do your own kind of map. The color palette, to start with, you get like 5 shades of blue and 5 shades of red. I'm not going to do that. It's just too much. So I have made the red states, of course, the Republican states, states that have the safe red states, I'll call them, the blue states, safe blue states, and then, of course, the toss-ups are this gray, a little bit of light brown color right there. So right now we have the Democrats 47 seats, Republicans 45 seats. And of course,
voting from home is easy and convenient, and SEIU2020.org has the tools you need to confirm your voter registration state and send in your request. Why wait? Request your ballot today.
Well, there you go. Okay, hopefully that won't happen again, but why is there 2 green seats in the Democrat column? Well, these are your independents. This is your Angus King, who's not up for re-election, not in Maine. He's an independent who caucuses with the Democrats. And then Bernie Sanders is also not up for re-election either. He's an independent, caucuses with the Democrats. So I'm going to divide this video up into 3 parts. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a map of the U.S. Senate if the Republicans have a bad night. Then I'm going to do a map of if the Republicans have a really good night. And then I'm going to do my prediction probably somewhere in the middle. Now, if you haven't figured out already, yes, I'm a registered Republican. So this prediction might have a slight right of center bias to it, but then again, a lot of media sources and these polling agencies, they tend to be left of center with their biased opinions. Okay, and of course I'll have some analysis too, some certain races out there. But first, the Republicans have a really, really bad night. Well, you can say goodbye, Cory Gardner. You could say goodbye to Martha McSally. That's 49 right there. Joni Ernst has been trailing in the polls. It's been close for her, but again, Iowa is a state that swung strongly towards the Democrats in 2012. 2016 swung sharply back to the Republicans, and in 2018 it swung pretty sharply towards the Democrats. They picked up, I think, 2 or 3 House seats. There's only 4 House seats in Iowa. Iowa's a very small state, of course. The only good thing the Republicans did was they won they kept the governor's mansion in Republican hands. Um, Another seat, well, you can probably say goodbye to Susan Collins in Maine. She's also been consistently trailing by about 3 to 5 points in that contest as well. Minnesota, Michigan, these Rust Belt Senate seats that are currently held by Democrats will stay in Democrat hands. So already you have Democrats have the majority, but you have Montana. Montana is a Senate seat that currently has represented by Republican Steve Daines, but the Democrat is the current governor, Steve Bullock, who has a pretty high approval rating. And Montana, they already have John Tester, the Democrat, who somehow escaped, somehow was reelected 2 years ago by like a 4-point margin. But yeah, we'll go ahead and say Montana. Yeah, we'll add a Democrat there, so they'll both of their what is okay. What for Montana? Okay. You know, they were represented in the Senate for many years by Max Baucus, and I think for a certain period of time that they had John Tester and Max Baucus back in, I think, 2006, 2008, somewhere around there. But yeah, Montana has had 2 Democrat senators before in recent history, believe it or not. Now, Lindsey Graham, again, tied. I mean, this is a seat that he should win. Okay, I don't know what's going on with these little advertisements, but I wish they would stop. Okay, South Carolina, that might be the upset of the evening, the cherry on top state. So 53 Senate seats. North Carolina, Tom Tillis, again, behind in the polls consistently. And again, this is a state that loves to change senators every time there's been an election. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But okay, so 54. Alabama should be. You can pretty much guarantee that Alabama's going to go from blue to red, because Alabama is a dark red state. It should go back to the Republican column. Doug Jones, of course, won that Senate seat against Roy Moore, who was a Republican who had a lot of baggage. But now the Republican is Tommy Tuberville, the former college football coach at Auburn University. He's a coach that does not have baggage like Roy Moore does. Okay. Georgia. Looking at 2018, the governor's race was very close. In 2014, the governor's race was won by 8 points. This time around, it was like down to like less than 2 points. So yeah, I could see Georgia picking up a Democrat Senate seat. So one more state. I mean, Texas. A lot of people say Texas could flip. More so at the presidential level than the Senate level. I think that the Democrats could. Remember, just 2 years ago, they got within 2.5 percentage points of Ted Cruz. John Cornyn is more of he's what you call a don't rock the boat Republican. He tries to play things, tries not to rock the boat too much, unlike Ted Cruz, who's pissed a lot of people off in the Republican Party, unfortunately, especially when he didn't endorse Trump in the 2016 convention. So, however, I think John Cornyn will win his Senate seat regardless of what happens around the rest of the country. Could it be close? Yeah. John Cornyn is looking in the polls. He's looks like he's going to have probably a 6 to maybe a 9 point win. But this could be, again, if Democrats have a really good night, this could be another 2.5% squeaker in Texas. But so a good night for the Democrats is 54 to 46. Okay. Now, what is a good night for the Republicans? Have a good night. Well, let's see. Arizona, I think McSally barely. Now, all the polls have shown Mark Kelly, the Democrat, the wife of Gabby Giffords, the astronaut, Mark Kelly. All the polls have shown Mark Kelly to be up by. There was one poll said he was up 17. That's been a bit of an outlier. All the polls have shown that Kelly's been up by right around 7 to 9 points. So, not necessarily a landslide, but not necessarily a squeaker either. But this one, McSally, in a good year for Democrats, only lost very closely to Kristen Sinema in that race 2 years ago. So I think she could, if the Republicans have a good night, it means Donald Trump is going to win Arizona. And I think that, Trump will probably win Arizona by about 2 points. McSally will probably squeak by with like maybe 0.5% or, 0.75% margin. Colorado, I think Colorado this year is pretty much what Illinois was in 2016. It's going to be one of the very first Senate seats that's going to be called for the Democrats. It's going to be one of the this is like what Alabama is in this race. It's a seat that's going to flip. You can pretty much bet the farm's going to flip. Just Colorado is just now. There was a time when the Republicans did very well in Colorado, but those days are far. Those days are over, well over now. And pretty much the Republicans are going to pick up Alabama, regardless of what happens throughout the rest of the country. Democrats are going to pick up Colorado, regardless of also what happens in the rest of the country. Montana stays in the GOP column. Let's see here. In Georgia, some people say, oh, Georgia's going to go blue. It's going to go blue selection. If the Republicans have a good night, they'll be able to run up the score in the rural areas. They'll be able to get just enough support in the suburbs, in the Atlanta suburbs. That's going to stay in GOP hands. So now we're back to 51-49 for the Republicans. Okay, so Oregon, no. Oregon's not going to flip. Illinois, no. Okay, let's talk about South Carolina. Okay. Lindsey Graham. He's trying to win his 4th term in the Senate. He used to be what you call a rhino. Very moderate, very establishmenty, very kind of a little bit left in the Republican Party, but now he supports Trump 100%. And the Democrats have recruited a candidate in Jamie Harrison, an African American, young, articulate, very charismatic. The polls have shown pretty much been toss up, but Harrison has not had a lead here in South Carolina in any of the polls I've looked at. In the polls, the polls have been either tied or Graham has had a lead, anywhere from 1 to 7%. And there's actually an article just released today, as a matter of fact, says Graham leads Harrison in South Carolina Senate race, 46 to 40%. Another reason why this race was tall because of the presence of Bill Bledsoe. Constitution Party candidate, was receiving 4% of the vote. Now, Bledsoe is going to be on the ballot. However, he has ended his campaign and has endorsed Lindsey Graham. Trump won this state by 14% in 2016. The polls show he's going to beat Biden here by 8%. So, okay. So again, yeah, I expect there, come on, South Carolina, folks. This one's, a good night for the GOP. Yeah, they'll definitely keep South Carolina. Let me look at the analysis here. Let's see. Trying to figure out. Okay. Okay. So, by the way, I don't know if you can see, this is 2002. Boy, does Lindsey Graham look really young there. He's 47 in that picture, but still, gosh, he looks like he's 27 there. But okay, his very first U.S. Senate election, he won by a little over 10 points. Okay. And if you notice, you have a lot of these black belt majority African American counties in the center part of the state. A lot of that's represented by Jim Clyburn, one of the big Democrat leaders in the House of Representatives. But over here in 2002, of course, you have this nice red area here is Greenville, Spartanburg, and then you have a 65% GOP area in Myrtle Beach, Georgetown area. And oh yeah, Charleston, by the way, is red, Republican here. The only Democrat area right here is Columbia, the state capital. And of course, Tallahassee is in the panhandle of Florida, folks, and that is a blue area. Pretty much all the state capitals are blue, regardless of how red the surrounding area might be. And the Florida panhandle is very red. Same for South Carolina as a most part. 2008, a very good year for Democrats because Obama was elected and the Democrats got a supermajority in the House and the Senate. Well, Lindsey Graham, he wins the Senate seat by 15 points. He increases his margin by a third, okay, from the previous election. But this one was really a blowout. Look at all. He really did good in the interior. These black, a lot fewer blue counties. Clemson, Greenville, Spartanburg. This whole area is now dark red, 70 to 80% Republican. Myrtle Beach is now pushing 70% Republican. Still, Charleston area is still Republican. 2014, good year for Republicans. 17-point margin for Lindsey Graham. This is kind of the high water mark, I guess you could say, for Lindsey Graham. Could he win by 17 again? I don't think so, but I certainly think he can hit 12 to maybe 15. But as you can start to see, the Charleston area has started to become very, very light pink, okay, down, very, very, just over, 40-50%. Then you have, Graham is still winning this area, but now this area is definitely getting ready to turn blue. and actually did in 2018 for a House race down there, Charleston, Beaufort area, was actually won by a Democrat. But the good news for Republicans in this state is that despite what's happening with Charleston, okay, Republicans still are getting 70 to 80% in Myrtle Beach. They're getting 70 to 80% in Greenville, Spartanburg, Clemson. Both of these areas are very rapidly growing. The Democrats are doing better, however, in Columbia, but still, as long as they're winning Greenville, Spartanburg, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is always going to be a red state. Okay. Now let me go to, again, remember, we're on best case scenario for Republicans. Remember that. Okay, now this one on the, here lately, the Senate race up in Maine between the incumbent Susan Collins and Sarah Gideon. This race has recently went from toss-up to leans Democrat, okay? But let's look at Susan Collins, okay? Let me get this pulled up here. Okay, she's been in the Senate, was elected in 1996. First election, close. She wins by 5 points. Next election, good year for Republicans. She wins by 17. 2008, terrible, awful year for the GOP. But Susan Collins increases her margin. She wins this seat by 23 points in a very strong year for Democrats versus only 17% in a good year for Republicans, right? And of course, 2014, a very good year for Republicans. She goes from 23% in 2008 to 37% in 2014. So, again, the reason, look, I think Susan Collins will pull this out. Come on, folks. 23 points. She won by 23 points in a year where the Democrats all over the country were kicking the Republicans' butt, and Susan Collins still won re-election. So this one should be in the Republican column. Is it going to be? Is she going to win by 23 points again? No. 27? No. This is probably going to be more like her first election, 1996. She'll probably win by maybe 5. Now let's go to North Carolina, my home state. Let's see, North Carolina. Okay. Okay, so this is the Jesse Helms Senate seat. Was represented by Jesse Helms, who was a conservative firebrand from 1972 to 2002. In 2002, he retired. Elizabeth Dole won this seat by about 9 points. Okay. Again, this is the Black Belt area of North Carolina. This is the northeastern part. But she won, she won Guilford County, Winston-Salem, Greensboro. She won Charlotte. She even won Raleigh. Okay. Very strong victory. But, I've gone back, though, in history, and all of the U.S. Senate races, look at this. Jesse Helms, incumbent, he only gets reelected by 7 points. 1990, only wins by 5. 1984, which was a which was a huge red wave, he only wins by 4. And if you want, you can go all the way back to 1966. Was really the last time the Republicans, at least for this particular U.S. Senate seat, 1966 was the last time that the margin of victory was over 10 points. Okay. So, okay. Now let's go to 2008. 2008, if you notice, well, Kay Hagan flips Charlotte, flips Raleigh, flips the Wilmington area. Elizabeth Dole still does well in the foothills, but Kay Hagan has a lot of mountain counties that she wins here. But still, Kay Hagan, in a good year for Democrats, still can only win the seat by 8.5 points. So a victory, but not a huge blowout. Okay. 2014, Kay Hagan, the Democrat, loses to Thom Tillis. But in a good year for Republicans, Tillis can only win the seat by 1.5 percentage points. Of course, the key for Tillis, he was able to flip Wilmington back into his column. Does a lot better in this mountain region here. Flips a lot of counties that Kay Hagan had won. Now in 2020, here's what we have at play here in 2020. Okay, Cal Cunningham, who a couple months ago, very good, very strong candidate for Democrats, military veteran. He's about 15 years younger than Thom Tillis. Okay. A little bit better speaker than Tillis, a little bit more charismatic and polished. But if you look at the map here, the area, okay, in a lot happened in 2016. That, in my opinion, is really going to help North Carolina go from a toss-up state to more of a lean Republican state. And that is this area down here in the Fayetteville area. This area's gotten a lot more Republican. Robinson County flipped from blue to red. You also have a little bit of the northeast part of the state also going from blue to red. Wake County was blue 6 years ago. Mecklenburg County, blue 6 years ago. Forsyth and Guilford County, blue 6 years ago. So those counties, 6 years ago were already Democrat. So those on a statewide scale, really, any gains the Democrats make in those urban counties are again going to be outmatched, in my opinion, by gains made in the Fayetteville area and also the northeast part. A lot of these counties that have a high number of African Americans, as African Americans starting to trend a little bit Republican too. And also this area here is actually part of the Virginia Beach, Norfolk TV market, and this is, this is like the exurbs of the Virginia Beach metropolitan area. These parts are growing, and they're growing more Republican. And also the mountains too. See a little bit of dark red there. That's also getting a lot more Republican too. So, Thom Tillis has that going for him. Plus, he has Cal Cunningham, who has, had some extramarital affairs for that. And in my opinion, North Carolina, everybody said, oh, it's changed, blah, blah, blah. Look, at the end of the day, it's still a Bible Belt state, and I think that there'll be enough. You know, it'll help get more Republicans to vote for Tillis because Tillis has had his issues with his base. But Cal Cunningham could also lose a lot of those church. There are some church going Democrats out there that would probably call flip from Cunningham to Tillis. Not very many, but a few. But definitely, if you go and look at the governor's race down in Louisiana back in 2015, you had David Vitter, a Republican, who had extramarital affairs. Louisiana, a dark red state, one of the most dominant Republican states in the country. Yet, Vitter lost to a Democrat, John Bel Edwards, because of the extramarital affair. I mean, Vitter lost by like 15 points, okay? Now, again, you look at these Senate races, over the last 50 years, they've been pretty close, under 10%. Tillis, again, in my opinion, Tillis will probably get maybe 3/4 to half of the Trump margin. So if Trump wins by, I'll say he wins North Carolina by about 8 points. Tillis could probably get 3 to 4 points. Again, remember, 2014, a good Republican year, he only won the seat by a point and a half. But okay, so we're at 52-48. Virginia, that's as far as statewide races, the Democrats used to doing super well. Trump actually held the Romney margin. Romney lost by about 5 points, and so did Trump in those presidential election years. There's been a little bit of talk about New Hampshire, but Democrats hold on to that. Iowa. Yeah, Iowa should go Republican on the Senate scale. And again, yeah, if Trump does really well in Michigan and Minnesota, yeah, I could see the GOP picking up the Senate seats there. Just because they were so close, presidential years, yeah, New Hampshire could flip, and New Mexico could flip, and why not? Let's say Colorado could flip too. So high water mark 58-42. Again, best case scenario for Republicans. Now, let's go to more realistic here, and I'm almost done, okay? Been rambling for 33 minutes. Goodness gracious, but okay. So, Colorado, blue. New Mexico stays blue, okay? New Hampshire, I think, stays blue. Let me see. Michigan, Minnesota. Okay. Arizona, that one, yeah. Just because Sally's been trailing in the polls the whole time by like at least 7 to 8 points. So, so this is going to be my prediction. Remember, the Republicans were 53-47 coming in. They'll lose a Senate seat, but it's going to be, they're still going to have majority, 52-48. Okay. So, thanks for watching this video. In a few days, I'll do my presidential prediction. And then after that, I'll look at the statewide governor's race, see how many counties each candidate can win in that for North Carolina. And then finally, I'll do a video on the House races. I'll save the hardest and, the hardest and probably most boring video for that, okay? Anyway, talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.